This is the Amp Hour Podcast, released May 6th, 2018. Episode 391. Only a Transmitter.
Welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Dave Jones from the EEV blog.
And I'm Chris Gamble of Contextual Electronics.
You know what I hate?
I think you're about to tell me.
Business.
Wait, I was going to say last time, usually it's computers.
Computers,
manufacturing.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Shipping's the other one.
Yep.
And I just figured out what you're going to talk about. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, what? Okay.
It's about payments, right?
Payments.
Yeah.
Business, just doing business. Like...
It does get in the way of the other stuff, huh?
Oh, no, well, it's not just the time and effort to do it. It's companies who piss me off.
Business ethics.
And I'm going to name them.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. Currency Fair.
You already did that on Twitter. That's how I knew about it.
Well, I'm probably going to shoot a video rant in or something, because they're like...
Dave's like the angry uncle now.
Unbelievable. Would you like to know what happened?
Yes, I would actually.
There's this act in Australia, like a government act, right? It's the AML CTF Act, I believe it is. It's the Anti-Money Laundering and Counter-Terrorism Financing Act of 2006, right? And it covers the financial sector, gambling sector, bullion dealers, and other professional businesses that provide
bullion dealers. There you go. That's you.
Yeah, covered by the act, because a lot of money, there's a lot of money laundering in the, gold bullion, gold and silver bullion business.
I did not know any of these things, but okay, go ahead.
Right. Oh, there was a huge scam with the goods and services tax here in Australia. There was like all these bullion dealers, they were claiming GST, they would get their jewellery, and they would get their gold bullion, and I can't remember the order, but they'd then melt it down, but still claim the goods and services tax back. So they claim the 10% back, and then melt it down and then resell it GST free as bullion.
Oh.
So they would, because you don't pay...
So they'd be scamming other people, basically?
Well, they're scamming the government, basically. No, they're not scamming other people. They're buying your bullion.
I don't know how GST works. So Is that like AMT or VAT, rather?
It's
like
VAT. It's our equivalent to VAT. So they buy the... We're telling people how to not launder money, but how to... cheat the government here. Yeah, you buy something that's GST... included, right, that you claim the GST from the person who sold it to you, right? Yeah. So they pay the GST, and then you claim that back from the government, but then you change the product. In this case, you melt it down from jewelry to bullion, and bullion is GST free. So when you resell it,
got it.
Okay, you didn't have to pass the GST on, so you've pocketed that 10%, right? And
shady.
Yeah. And the
all
government.
Right, well, let's just cut right to how you're being shady. Then.
Right, how to
succeed in business, in the electronics business, huh?
By being a money launderer and a terrorism financer. Yes, which is clearly what I am.
Dave the money launderer.
Clearly what I am. And unbelievable. Anyway, there's this act, which I believe is what they're following. There's also the Austrac Act and other ones, which, anyway. So they're required. So these types of... Currency Fair, by the way, is a company that does currency exchange. Okay? They're a currency exchange company. So basically, I send money in Australian dollars from my bank to them. They've got their own bank in Ireland because it's a tax haven, right? So I've got to send the money to Ireland, and then I use their Currency Fair platform to exchange the money on the market, right? From Australian to US dollars, right? Because they have very favourable market rates, right? That's why I use them. Never use a bank to do your money. By the way, their rates are like 4% worse than like you're pissing away 4%. Or whatever, if you use your bank. It's horrible. Anyway, so they got very favourable market rate currency transfer rates, right? So I transfer my money inside Currency Fair, and then I send it from my Currency Fair account to the supplier, right? Who I'm buying the multimeters or the parts from or whatever.
Oh, I
right?
see.
Yeah,
Okay.
like I could do it straight from my bank.
Paying your invoices, yeah. I see.
Yeah, exactly. I've, invoiced them and, I've given them a purchase order. I'm going to buy 1,000 multimeters and then I pay for them, right? And obviously it's a lot of money, right? Especially the 121 GW multimeter is not cheap, right? And I've got to buy 2,500 of them or whatever, right? It's a lot of money, right? So we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars here, right? Yep. Huge amounts of money. And US, Yankee bucks. And... right? So anyway... I think
we got it all the way through here, yes. Lots of money.
So I use this company to do the currency transfer and everything. And they've got to, as one of these finance providers, they've got to follow this act and report and make sure that I am not laundering... if they get the suspicion that I'm transferring large amounts of money and laundering money or financing terrorism, they're supposed to ask me for information. They're legally obligated to ask me for information to prove... that A, I'm a legitimate business, and B, even the source of the income, right? Which is bloody none of their business, really. How my company made its money, right? It's like anyway, right? Anyway, it's part of the terms and conditions, right? You've got to, if you're doing...
I get all this stuff, Dave.
Yeah.
Let's get to the point. Okay. You got a point where you were wronged. I'm guessing, or no?
Well, they were. Well, I've proven to them many times that I'm a legitimate. They've asked for this a few times. Right, and I've continued to prove that I'm a legitimate business doing large transactions, and I've even paid this supplier before, right? So they've already cleared this transaction, this company that I'm paying to before, right? But no, they come along again and they ask, hey, no, we're stopping the transaction, right, from going through because, look, prove where you got this money from, right?
So why don't you just stop using them? I don't get it.
Oh, well, yeah, I know, I should, right? Anyway, it's bullshit. No, because I'll probably get caught by some other company, right? Doing the same, overzealous because they want to, I'm really I'm ranting about the company because I think they're doing it wrong. But I'm also ranting about the government regulations that, of course I'm sending money overseas. Jesus, what business?
Dave's growing up here, folks. He's getting older. He's ranting about government oversight. It's, he's...
unbelievable.
He is working his way into being a stereotypical, You're moving into your 50s soon. You're gonna be like the 50s electrical engineer who wants to give you a piece of his mind. You're really you're hitting that demographic, Dave, real well.
But surely you can appreciate if I get hassled every single time, every single that's ridiculous, right? That's
rough, right? There's no shortcut to just be like, hey. Here's all my stuff. Yeah.
And luckily in this case I had a proof in the form of the Kickstarter campaign, even though they didn't know what Kickstarter was. Or is this some sort of financing? Has this company financed your company? No. You want me to explain Kickstarter to you? Anyway, I had that kind of proof. I could show the transaction coming into my account from this Kickstarter. But if I didn't, if I was just funding this from cash from my own, built up in my own business, how am I going to prove where the money came from? Have to supply my last 2 years' tax returns?
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. What a bloody hindrance to just legitimate
commerce.
Operations.
So mostly legitimate commerce. Yeah.
Mostly legitimate. Yeah, I do some money laundering on the side,
Right.
And some terrorism financing.
It's
a hobby. Yeah, so I don't. So I don't pay tax on that hobby.
Right.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Yeah. Anyway, that it just pisses me off.
Yeah, that's. Anything like that where you're, getting. That could have big impacts too, right? I think about all the supply chain things that are happening these days, anyways. It really anything that gets in the way. I'm not as upset as you, but I got hit by the Chinese Labor Day. Did you know that's a thing? I didn't actually know that was a thing. I learned that recently.
I think so. Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
How long do they take off?
Yeah, it was just 2 days, but it was so I put in my order on a Saturday, and I'm like, oh yay, 3-day turn, and it was it's Saturday, Sunday, but also Monday, Tuesday.
Right.
And then
so you copped the weekend, so you copped an extended long weekend.
It's on me. I didn't look, but
gosh darn it, you didn't get your instant gratification in today's online commerce world.
I know, Dave. It's exactly for especially for the prices I'm getting. It's
exactly.
It's real cheap too. It's But But I mean, like you're saying though, like I mean, like that is another step in the supply chain stuff. That I mean, we already learned 2 weeks ago that you're already usually pretty little late with your orders, right?
Right.
So yeah, that can hurt you on supply chain stuff.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not a happy camper.
Well, I'm sorry, man. You feel better now that you raged a little bit?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
I may not feel better unless I maybe do a blab video or something.
Okay. Well, I mean, do what you got to do, you know?
Yeah.
Are you getting hit by, speaking of supply chain stuff, are you getting hit by any of the supply chain things these days?
You're talking about the capacitor, the great capacitor shortage of 2017, 2018?
Right. Yep.
Right. No, I'm not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
If I am, my supplier isn't telling me, you know.
Oh, you mean at that side of things. Okay.
They supply the parts to the new multimeter, for example.
Right. I just meant if you were ordering parts or something, if you didn't already have parts on hand, that kind of thing.
No, I haven't, although I do have to order some more parts right now. Actually, that's probably today's
That's
task.
on the list today, huh?
Yeah, more microcurrent parts, so I might,
Yep.
but I'm getting from Mouser DigiKey, and actually, David exclaimed this the other day. My sidekick, he just turned around and shouted, "Did you know that DigiKey are completely out of capacitors?"
Yeah, well, that's what I was getting towards.
Right,
like it's
and I went, "Yeah, I've heard about the thing, but that can't be true." And it's true. I've been searching, and then I search, and no, it's not true.
It's not. It's not true, but it's like it's definitely
searching for a certain size and voltage, it may be true. Right?
Yes, of course.
But in general, it's
well, the other thing too is just the noticing the prices. The prices are much higher. Like it's a market, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think the big thing is just in general, if you're searching for specific part numbers, you're going to have to do a little bit of reevaluation and finding new
Is this a capacitor cartel at play?
No, I don't think so. You mean like
Google? Did we discuss that before?
I don't think so.
A lot of 5 of the top major capacitor manufacturers were all fined for being a cartel.
Oh, like they colluded with one another?
They colluded to fix prices in the industry. They was fined hundreds of millions of dollars.
Was this recently or no?
9 months ago, maybe. I'm sure we covered it here on the Amp Hour.
Well, I've heard about that before because that happened. I know that happened in the DRAM industry, like back in the 80s. But I mean, like that's a common thing, and they can prove it pretty easily.
And they proved it, and they went, guilty. We'll happily pay the money. Because we made more money from the cartel than we did in the fine to pay the fine. So we've.
How do you feel about that, Dave?
Ahead.
I
don't care unless it affects me. Then I start caring.
The cartel stuff, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, no, like it's not good. Like,
do you think they should have been fined or no?
Oh yeah. Bloody oath.
You like government oversight. I'm just saying right there.
Of course I like government oversight.
Right.
Okay.
Remember earlier in the show.
Let's have no government oversight and see how the industry functions.
Just because you're as you ease your way into the role of cranky older engineer, you have to also have cognitive dissonance. This is things that I worked in Ohio for a while, Dave. I mean, like I work with some cranky middle-aged engineers. So I'm a connoisseur.
There's a difference between useful government oversight and overzealous. Badly.
Right. So capacitors, okay, but money laundering, not
government
okay.
Oversight.
Capacitor laundering. I'm sorry. I'm
sure they do wash them as a step. Yeah. I'm sure there's some sort of washing step in there, so they.
Right.
Maybe they literally launder them.
Laundering of capacitors. Yeah. Well, so I thought this was an interesting article. So Dwayne over at Screaming Circuits wrote about this. And he was writing about package sizes for components and passives specifically, right, because of this whole thing. And he said that as a result of all this, like they're going to start cutting out some of the bigger parts too, like 1206, 0805, even 0603, he says. And he said this has happened in the past, but I don't think I've ever noticed that. I was wondering if you've seen that in the past.
What? Because you can't get the bigger ones?
Well, like when there is a break like this, when there's shortage problems, they're also switching the technologies at the vendor, right? So like,
right, okay, yeah.
So like when I think a couple shows
because Apple have just ordered 20 zillion 0201 capacitors, right?
Exactly.
And
so like why be tooled for something where only like onesie twosies are going to buy them, right?
Right.
Same thing with just dip package. I mean, dip packages
but
are still around.
No. This is bullshit, right? Because everyone thinks, the world's driven by the mobile phone market. Yeah, that might be a large driver, right? But not everything's going small. You still need your big industrial. And people have no idea how big the regular industrial market is, and you need your big ass.
But I think a lot of that stuff's driven by this too,
caps,
though, right?
You need your big high voltage caps. Good luck getting a mains rated cap in a bloody 0201 size package, right?
Right. It doesn't even meet spacing and voltage tolerance stuff. I get that. I'm just saying that I think this makes the argument it's just based on volumes in general, right? I mean, like when you look at obsolescences and when companies decide to make something obsolete, usually it's based on like, okay, well, we ran the numbers and the projection of all of the 1206 parts in this category don't make sense, so they start to obsolete them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but look, I think you're doing it wrong. If you're choosing your package based on what might happen once every blue moon with a capacitor shortage, I think you're doing it wrong. You choose the right part for the right process technology, for the right reasons for your product, and you just, you just can't worry about that sort of stuff. If you go, I'm gonna move all my process technology to, 0201 resistors and capacitors just because I want to avoid these shortages in the future, you're an idiot, because you've just changed the whole assembly process technology, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have lower yields, later.
You're going to have, all sorts of problems. You have to probably move to a new supplier. They're going to,
some of that stuff I agree with, right? I think some of
bullshit.
that stuff I agree with, but specifically in this case, right? I was just doing a design, and I had 0805 capacitors and resistors on the back, and I went and did a price comparison because the 0805s were just harder to find, and the capacitor prices were significantly lower for 0603 versus 0805.
Well,
just
then
because of availability.
Why aren't you regularly using 0603? There's nothing. See, 0603 is what any regular assembly house can do. Once you go below 0603, you pretty much need more specialized assembly equipment.
So I was doing 0805 because on resistor side, I've just got packs and packs of resistors that are 805.
Okay. Oh, well,
and so that's where I started
enough.
from.
Okay.
And then I was like, well, this is actually counterproductive for this thing I'm working on. And then you get the benefits of more space and everything else too.
Right. Oh, well, that's there can be legitimate reasons to, if you're still using 1206 just because you like them because they're nice and big,
because
and
easy
all
to
that,
solder, right?
And all that sort of stuff, and you're going into a production environment. There's no need to use 1206s. Go to 0603s, but don't jump to 0402, for example.
Right? No.
Right?
Yeah. Unless you have a need for it.
Unless you have a need for it,
Yeah.
Yep. Unless you're building some ultra dense product or something like that.
Right.
So,
but I think that even eventually, I think that and I think what this article is trying to point out is that eventually, much like today, you can still buy dip packages and a lot of things, but usually you're paying a premium for it. So it's almost like you're kind of, yes, you're right. We're not going to be doing, anything I design at least is
that's
not
a process
leading edge.
Technology. That's an assembly process technology thing in the opposite direction, right? You're going back to a through hole, whereas all of your assembly houses are optimized for surface mount, right? So you're practically going, old school, in the opposite direction. It's not like surface going from one size surface mount to another, because look, if somebody's pick and place machine can do 0603, they can do 1206. Right? It's not like, they need a different machine to do those big ass old fashioned, large parts. No, it doesn't work like that,
Yep.
So it's kind of, the opposite argument. That's dumb decision on a different, in the opposite direction.
I would never recommend people do that, but I'm saying people still do, and they definitely pay a premium for it. And usually they're not, usually by the time they get to and now I want to make this automated manufacturing wise, it's like, okay.
Right.
Good luck.
I assembled a DIP TTL computer.
I saw that. Yeah, how'd that go? I didn't see how it turned out.
Yeah, it worked first go. I was very disappointed. Also, to have something to troubleshoot, you know?
What was the did someone just send it to you or what?
Yes, it's the Gigatron.io.
Keep going. I don't know what that is.
Gigatron.io. Okay, it's just the name of an TTL, you know, a custom TTL, 8-bit RISC, do-it-yourself computer.
Ah, that's fun.
And it uses all 7.4 series logic. So it uses all 7.4 series logic with some RAM, with some SRAM and a ROM, and it's literally a RISC computer. And it can generate graphics and do also, you know, and
really?
Play games on it, yeah.
Nice, that's fun. Oh yeah, I'm looking at the images right now. Well, that's cool. All right.
Yeah. Well, I'm about to upload the review of it, and while it's cool, like, it was a fun kit to assemble, but unfortunately, it's kind of like the opposite problem with the through-hole technology we just talked about, right? Going in the opposite direction, too far in the opposite direction. This one, right? You've assembled your computer, but you can't really do anything with it because you can't hook it up to a keyboard. Right, you can hook it up to a monitor, but you can't hook it up to a keyboard, and it doesn't have the interpreter. Well, you know, you can't just turn it on, hook up a keyboard, and, you know, type in your basic program or whatever, which is kind of like, you know, the minimum requirement you'd expect from a personal computer. So it's not very personal. This is the conclusion I come to in the review video.
Got it.
Yeah.
So how do you interface with it? Is it just a serial port?
Well, you can either redo the ROM. Right, so you can either recompile it and flash not flash, but actually burn the EEPROM and then put it in with your new programs or whatever. Or you can actually go through the joystick port. You can hook the joystick port up to an Arduino, which then bit bangs in serial stuff, and they've got an old school loader built into the ROM. So it's like you wouldn't remember, but I'm sure lots of our listeners out there will, right? Back in the day, right, computers couldn't, you know, they didn't have any hard storage was tape, right? Was the actual cassette tape, right? So you'd load the program in on the cassette tape, and then you'd do the load command, and it's basically the same sort of thing. So you'd load the program, and it comes in and a bit bangs it from the Arduino through the joystick port of all things, and then you can load your program in, but once you remove but there's no way to store it because it's just stored in the SRAM, so once you remove it, it's gone. So every time you turn your computer back on, you've got to load your program back in from the tape. You know, so it's like, it's kind of like gone too far in the old school direction.
Right.
Like, to the point of it being like nobody wants to use that anymore. You know, nobody wants to use that system, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, which is a shame. Because otherwise it was a fun kit.
Well, I mean, so what you think would be better if you had,
if it had a basic interpreter built in and you could hook it up to a PS2 keyboard, you know?
Well, why didn't you just do that from like just a USB to serial converter, like one of those little plug-in $5 jobbies from eBay?
Well, you don't even. Well, yeah, you can still buy those PS2 keyboards, and with the PS2 plug-in, they've got an I2C interface, right? And that's easy to interface to a computer like this. Right? You don't, none of this USB rubbish, right? Just buy a PS2 keyboard and hook it up.
Well, I just mean that, like, so if it's a serial interface, why not just go from a terminal, right? Like, so you have a terminal program that's going through a USB to serial. And then just talking to the serial port directly. So you, like, the Arduino doesn't really seem necessary.
Well, this thing, kind of, the Arduino can be used as like an interface bridge to it, but it's like, okay. Like, if I just built my computer, can I hook a keyboard up and just type in some basic commands and run some programs?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, unfortunately, couldn't do that. So I was a bit bummed.
That's too bad.
Anyway, it was fun to build.
I mean, that's the nice thing is like the, you know,
little live
quality
show
soldering time, right?
Yeah. Therapeutic, you know.
Yep, exactly. That's good. Yeah, I've been pointing people to a former guest of the show, Sar from Boldport. I've been pointing to his stuff often. He's got new kits always coming out. So
do it yourself. Yeah. Learn to solder.
You ever done one of those kits? The Boldports. Yeah, those are nice. Yep. So, I've been dealing with some serial port stuff, and it's just it's still.
What platform?
on a Windows computer. I was on using.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, and it was like telling me to the people. Oh yeah, I got an Alexa too. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard a female voice in the background. I thought.
Right. It's been creeping me out. So actually, that happened last week when I was editing
company.
the show. Yeah, I say something about a computer. You stupid piece of crap. Nope, didn't work that time. See, it doesn't work. That's my keyword. Is not Alexa.
What do you want one of those things for? If it annoys you because it's always listening. I mean,
it's just like, for the. It's yeah. I know. I like the music thing.
Why can't they add like a big button on top where you walk up to it, push the you do, and you can push the big button and then it and then it listens.
Oh well, they have a mute button on top, so you could do that, and then
well no,
yeah. You could always have it on mute,
right,
and then that would you press it to unmute, I suppose.
Yeah.
Anywho, yeah, I was on a device, a computing device. I'm just looking to see if the ring's lighting up. No. I was... Oh, God, it was about Terraterm?
Yes, yeah. I use Terraterm.
My God, what a terrible interface. Just like 1990s style Windows interface.
There's probably only a couple of them. I use Terraterm and Termite, I think, are the two.
Termite,
I don't
I've never tried that one.
Yeah, there's Termite.
Okay.
Is another one.
I've used Cool Term as well.
Right. There's a few of them out there. There's not many out there, really.
Yeah, there's one. There's a couple of people here in town that were working on one that was like very webby. It's called Baud, Baud. Right. That was nice.
Yeah, David wrote his own one because he was, none of them do exactly what I want, so I'm going to write. But everyone writes their bloody own.
Right, exactly.
So there's no one that is the obvious one everyone uses. It's like, Of course, everyone will go, oh, now I can write that. I can write the one that everyone will use. Yeah, right. Good luck.
Right, yep.
There's 50 of them out there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch.
Anyway.
Whatever works, honestly, but this was not working for me, so I was trying to troubleshoot some stuff.
But the program works. It must have been something else wrong.
I think it was. Yeah, no, I think it was just when you're not sure if it's if it's PEBCAC or whatever it's going on, I'm sure it was PEBCAC, it was probably me.
Sure, you had the thing I find that's mostly wrong is I've chosen the wrong port. If I've got other things on there that are anyway, I've got a lab PC that has a built-in serial port. It's got a real one on the motherboard. It's got a D9 connector on the back.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. Yep.
Hook right into those pins, huh?
Yep. That's it.
That's good.
So
yeah, I mean, and that's honestly, that's usually my go-to advice too. Is if you have access to it, stick a scope or something else external on there just to see if it's pumping anything out. Because when you're not getting anything back.
I find it works because those programs work everything's default. Everything's 8N1. Right?
Yeah. Right.
So it's 8 bits, no parity, one stop bit, right?
It's
it's all the default. All you got to choose is the right baud rate and the right port. I mean, it's not.
Oh no! I think in this case, it's I was more complaining about the 1990s UI on it, but the I'm guessing that the board I was talking to was not playing nice. So.
What I would like my ideal utopian UART program to do is simply auto sniff. Is there any data at all coming in on this port? Tell me which ports have data coming in on them, and then auto-detect the rate, or at least tell me that I'm wrong, rather than just the cursor just sits there and blinks at you and you get nothing, right?
Yeah,
it's either all or nothing, right?
Yep.
I'd love it if it's somehow auto-detected. Oh, look, you've chosen, something's coming in, but it's all garbage.
Right.
So change or at least tell you that there's something coming
show
in.
that it's garbage.
Yeah, exactly. So that
stochastically, this is garbage. Yeah, you're looking at nothing here.
So then you can just go through and choose all the different baud rates until you hit one that works.
Right.
Yeah.
Like a translator that just tries every language.
Yeah, right. then have you ever been fooled by the old microcontroller RC oscillator UART trap for young players?
No.
Oh, well, let me tell you about that, young sonny boy.
See, look, old engineer here. Old engineer.
Yeah, you know how microcontrollers have built-in RC oscillators, right?
Right, they're usually 2 to 5%.
4 megahertz or something like that. Yeah, and they're usually, but back in the old day, right, usually they're pretty accurate these days. They're 1% or something, right? They've learned to control the tolerances, and 1% is good enough for the UART specs for the hardware UARTs to actually capture the data, right? But
Just
once
because
you
of like
get to like
jitter and making sure the timing's right on the signal
and the
everything.
time is right. Yeah. So once you're
okay.
because they only look for a certain amount of time. You know, they get the edge and then they look for a certain amount of time. And if there's, you know, anyway. So if you're once you start getting, don't quote me, but once you start getting like 3-4% out, then it starts becoming really marginal whether or not your UART's actually going to receive that data or not. Or whether it's going to print
you start to get a couple of them, but not all of them. That kind of thing.
A couple of them, not all of them, or you might not get any. You know, because the oscillator's running right hard on one side, and it's just outside the spec, and you don't get anything. You know, and or you might get the occasional random garbage data or something like that.
Yeah,
and you think, oh well, you know. And so that could be a real pain, and that was a problem back in the day, and a varied with temperature, of course.
Yeah. I was just thinking about a thing I was helping someone troubleshoot, and I asked for a scope plot, and they showed me it, and it was like super clean edges, everything like that. But honestly, I didn't even think to check like the margin on the
frequency.
Timing. Yeah, right. That's a good point. So that used to be,
because that's the last thing you check, because you've got to get in there and you've got to use your cursors, you've got to measure it precisely, and then you've got to check against the spec. It's just time-consuming, pain in the ass. You know?
Well, I really like those things where, like if you're using a logic, like a Salier or the Analog Discovery or something like that, where it actually just does the translation. So you're like, oh, I think I sent, FF, or no, that's a bad example, like 8F, in hex. And it's like, yeah, there it is. At least you have that. If it gets translated one at a time, I don't know. Yep. I've troubleshot enough like garbage outputs where I'm like just chasing ghosts for hours,
Oh yeah, no. If you just setting up your scope/logic analyzer protocol decoder is an art in itself. If you get that wrong, then you can be chasing a red herring down a rabbit hole because you think, there's something wrong with the project that I'm actually debugging. It's sending the wrong data, but it's not. It's because you've chosen the wrong baud rate or you've chosen whatever, because your logic analyzer or scope could start showing you garbage. Just because you chose the wrong setting. You didn't get the parity right, or you didn't get the baud rate, or you didn't get the inversion right, or you didn't get the, Yeah.
What we need, Dave, is we need artificial intelligence for electronics.
Right.
It's called the AMP Hour, artificial intelligence about electronics.
And then not only UARTs, but things like spy bus. If you don't get your auto timeout, if you've only got if you don't have the one with the third wire or whatever, you've only got, if you're not doing it in hardware, then you've got to do the software timeout. You've got to set your software timeout right. Otherwise, it doesn't decode your data properly. And it's like, oh, man. So you really got to know what you're doing. It's not just easy, I just hook my protocol analyzer up and it'll tell me. No.
Yeah, right.
No.
I mean, I think it helps, but it's not. It's not the be-all, end-all.
You've got to know how to drive it. If you don't know what you're doing with a protocol analyzer, then it's not going to help you, right?
Right.
If you've
hopefully
got
you're starting from a good place, though. Yeah. Right. Well, speaking of things that are flipping around quickly, did you see this new Osmo FL2K?
No.
No, this is a new
What's
SDR thing. So Osmocom is
I'm so into the software-defined radio community that I'm always up to date.
So you probably know about the RTL SDR, right?
No.
No, it's okay. So that's like all right. Well, that's okay. So the RTL SDR is based on a TV tuner chip set.
Right. Oh yes. Right. Yes. So
it's
I do know
cheap.
Yep.
I don't even know if it's HDMI or if it might be just USB. But basically, it can receive signals. Receive terrestrial TV signals, right, including digital modes, all that other crap. But but basically they reverse engineers the firmware, and then there's a driver for that, and you can use that for like things like SDR Sharp, or you can put it into GNU Radio, stuff like that. So
it's de facto standard,
it's just the
low cost SDR hardware.
Right. And so. I mean, and so we've obviously talked to a lot of people about SDR on here before. There's lots of episodes we've done with Mike Osman and Dimitri and Derek Kozel, and I'm sure I'm missing names, but there's I'll link some past shows about SDR stuff. Oh, Matt Edis, who started Edis Research. SDR guests. Got to write that down. Sorry. So
do we
that's
have
the
a
background there.
category on the? Do we have categories on the?
We don't have a category. I'll just link the actual guest shows. But this is a new one.
We should have categories.
We should. Yes, Dave. We should. We'll put our heads together about how to better organize our website.
Yeah.
And, well, I'll try and hold yourself back from organizing too much. Too much. Okay.
Right. Continue.
Yes. So this is a new one that the Osmocom folks figured out, that it's a VGA to USB converter. USB 3, right? So like pretty fast signal stuff. And I think what it's
a video capture doodad.
It's a video capture doodad. The chipset is I think the FL2000, and that's what it's named on, like Osmo FL2K. I lost my link here.
Yeah.
But the idea is basically using the harmonics of that, right? You get incremental harmonics, right? So I'm going to say this wrong, right? But if the base frequency is at 1.8, then you're also going to have a harmonic at 3.6 megahertz, and then
hang on. Let's step back a bit.
Yeah.
A VGA to USB converter is basically three high-speed ADCs, right? Because it's got to measure the RGB, which are analog signal levels, on the VGA, on the RGB pins, right? Right. So it's got three ADCs. So you're telling me it's using these ADCs as an SDR.
Right.
They've hacked it.
Yes. And I'm trying to find the other stuff about this now.
Is it like a 3-channel SDR? Actually, you could feed. It'd only go up to a couple hundred megahertz, right?
Yes.
Yes, because
here's
this
the other
sample
link.
rate.
Sorry, it's on Osmocom too. Sorry. So, where is it? So they're advertised with a maximum of 2048 by 1152 maximum resolution for blah blah blah. Yes,
which translates into a dot clock of X amount, and that's what they spec the sample rate of the ADCs for.
Right.
Am I correct?
Right, but this thing can also... it's not just ADCs. I'm missing the part about... There's DACs as well, right?
This is an output. What?
It's an output and it's a transceiver, right? So it can output and input.
Both.
Yeah. And so that's what's crazy about it, because if you look at the original article, they spoofed GSM signals.
Yeah.
So they said spoofed FM, DAB, DVB-T, GSM, UMTS, and GPS signals. So
it
that's
can generate that. Wow.
Right. It can generate pretty heavy duty stuff.
Hang on, how can it generate?
I'm gonna get
GSM
so far.
signals? We're talking near a gigahertz here.
Yeah. Well,
right?
that's the you're right, because it's 165 megahertz for this. That's the DAC itself, right?
So
but
this
then
is the harmonics you're talking.
But it's using the harmonics, right? So that's the idea, is that you have harmonics.
Right. Okay. So it's generating a submultiple of the GSM carrier frequency.
Right.
And it's just pumping out a square wave and then hoping that generates enough crap.
Towards the bottom of this initial article, the raw unfiltered DAC output contains lots of harmonics at multiples of the base frequency. This is what is creatively used if you use Osmo FL2K to generate a signal much higher than you could normally achieve with a 165 megahertz DAC without upconversion, right? So that's the idea here, is that if you did shift this thing around, you could, in theory, you could multiply it by upconvert. You could upconvert it to a different frequency band, and then have more bandwidth within it. Bandwidth. Were you here for that show? I don't think you were here for that show.
I don't know. But anyway, you can
where my mind was blown, I'm like, bandwidth.
Bandwidth.
Right.
Yeah.
It was, I forget what I was talking about at this point now, but it was basically showing the width of the bands as like, that's where it clicked in for me. And it was many, many years past where I should have learned that for real. Yeah, but that's hard, right? When you're learning RF stuff, it's just so nebulous. And things like, and I think it was the show with Derek Kozel where we were talking about SDR stuff. SDR is software defined radio. If we didn't already say that, sorry. I'm really trying here. I don't know if you've noticed. I've been trying to say last names and explain. Yeah, I noticed the last show that I've been saying stuff a lot lately. So
stuff,
I need to get a buzzer every time I say stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Sorry for all that stuff. Anywho, this is a cool project, and so I've got one of these things. It was like $15 on Amazon. And
Right.
I have not tried out the actual plugin yet. But the idea is that, but this is another plug. So the Osmocom stuff, what they've done is, as far as I understand it, is that they started creating tool sets that create drivers for this hardware, right? So they do the same thing for the chipset that's in that RTL SDR, the Great Scott Gadgets folks, Mike Osman and all of them, sorry. They also have a driver. The Lime SDR folks have a driver. The Blade RF folks have a driver. And the idea is that you can drive it from a generic interface like a GNU radio. And so you can start doing interesting things like spoofing GSM, which again, much like money laundering, we do not recommend. You will, if you get caught, you will get in a lot of trouble. But, if you're doing interesting things, if you're doing research, I think sometimes you get away with it, especially if you're doing it within a Faraday cage. That's the best place to do these things.
Yeah, because that's pretty crude, like pumping out the crap.
The harmonic
that's not
stuff.
Good. Yep.
No, see, I said stuff right there.
Well done.
Yeah. There was another thing about this though too. I think the idea was that because this is so low cost, it was something about they stored all of the stuff, all of the data in RAM on the computer. So like the HackRF does, it's actually a streaming solution, right? So it's not storing anything on the device itself. The device is acting as a conduit from computer to air. And in this case, I believe this is also acting as a conduit from a DMA memory source, source of... Shut up, Alexa. Jesus. Sorry. It's basically allowing a pathway from your memory all the way out to an antenna type solution.
Hang on, I'm looking at this doodad dongle thing,
yes.
and it's only a VGA display driver, so it's only a DAC. I don't see where it does capture with an ADC.
Is it only transmit? I thought it was receive and transmit, but maybe not.
Well, I clicked. I'm looking at the article. I'm clicking on the Amazon link they give, and I'm looking at this, and it is a USB 3 to VGA external display adapter. So surely it's only got a DAC. It doesn't read anything back. It doesn't read those RGB signals back. It's not a VGA capture doodad. So I don't know how it can be an SDR in that case. I don't get it.
Well, SDR is software-defined radio, right? So transmitters are radios.
No.
I thought it was a receiver as well, but I must be wrong about that.
I don't think it is. I'm pretty sure it's not. I'm calling it. I'm calling them out.
Oh, maybe yeah. Maybe you have to use something like an RTL SDR.
Maybe that's why.
Okay, in the second one that we have, so the setting up and testing Osmo FL2K, there's a second one.
You've got to use both. So this is just the DAC. Okay, right.
But still,
so this is just the generation.
The RTL SDR did not have a transmitter though.
No,
and that's good because most people should not be transmitting.
It has a DAC, right? It's got a DAC, which is if you hook it on a long wire, it's a transmitter.
No, the original RTL SDR was a TV receiver.
Yes, it's a
now
TV receiver.
This is basically creating a low-cost transmitter,
okay, so
I guess.
this is
I
the companion
thought this was a
device.
transceiver. I thought this was both ways. I'm sorry.
No, it's not. Okay. That's what confused me. All right, so these are now companion devices. They've this hobbyist community's got their
it says right here. It's very
SDR.
Complementary to the RTL SDR.
There you
Sorry,
go.
I should have read that piece first, but
research.
I think the idea is that the receive was already taken care of.
Yeah. Because you could buy this cheap TV receiver, and now they figured out how to get a cheap transmitter.
$30 to make a
repurposing
transceiver.
this consumer hardware. This is pretty crude. Like I can appreciate the technical novelty of it, but I don't like the idea of everyone spewing out.
Oh no!
Square waves with the harmonics over the whole spectrum. That no good's going to come from that.
No.
I think they need to find another.
I have strong words for how much I hate Ajit Pai, the FCC chairman, but I don't disagree with the charter of the FCC.
Right?
I like all of my other devices working. Like
Hey, I think I've had this problem at home.
Really? Yeah, my Bluetooth stuff's been pretty messed up lately.
One of my local I tweeted this. One of my local TV stations, which the kids watch because it's got the kids channel on it, right? Is playing up, right? Digital, it was almost unwatchable. And I'm looking at the signal. In these newfangled digital TVs, you can go in and you can check the signal level and the signal quality.
Oh, really?
Right?
I didn't know that.
You can even get technical details of the QSPR coding used and all that sort of jazz, or whatever it is. I'm sure I'm wrong there. Anyway, so I had near 100% signal level, 80% signal level or something. Really high. Right, so I'm getting lots of signal coming into my box, but the signal quality was 0, and that's why it was all breaking up.
Oh, interesting.
And it was
does it tell you what the quality actually refers to in that case? It's not
no, it doesn't. But I tweeted, and everyone says, it's people threw some industry terms at me, some weird ass, in RF encoding. Digital encoding terms, and okay, I kind of know what they mean, but I don't know how they actually relate
We're pretty outmatched with all the RF and the code, and
exactly.
pretty much we're narrowing our focus, Dave. We're you and me. We can talk about capacitors sometimes.
So I understand what the acronyms mean, but I don't know how and symbol rate and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I did learn that stuff once, but it's so long ago I completely forget.
Well, and at that point too, what are you really going to do about it too, right? I mean, this is a commercial thing.
Well,
You're not going
to, right? So this is what the problem is basically a signal to noise ratio thing, right? So if some other appliance like this thing is pumping out wideband noise, right, which is
called a jammer,
right? It's called a jammer, and if it hits the same frequency as the station you're trying to receive, it's going to swamp it with that crap. And you may have all the signal level in the world. You may be right next to the transmitter, but you're still going to, you're not going to receive
It's a data corruption thing, right?
It's a data corruption thing, It can't re-extract the code because all the digital stuff is all coded, so it can't extract that when you've got all this crap noise, which is swamping it. So it must be something, and then it just magically cleared up, a few days later.
Maybe it was, what's it called?
Somebody's switching on something.
Sunspots? Not sunspots. Solar flares. Maybe it's a solar flare.
Right. Solar flares. I'll blame those.
Yeah. Right.
Well, every time I operate roller door to our garage.
I was going to say, people that are listening that are ham radio people are just, screaming and squirming in their seats right now. We're sorry, but not really.
Care factor 0.
Leave us comments. We love comments. We have a subreddit. Teach us and others,
Or correspondence must be on the back of a postcard.
Send a $20 bill. What was that what they used to say on Car Talk? Yeah. Send your contract entry on the back of a $20 bill to...
every time we operate the roller door, it just generates so much. Every time we come in and out of the garage, it's all of our digital stations, all of them, just completely collapse. And I've tried filtering. I've tried filtering on the mains. Nothing helps. Yeah. Nothing helps. It just swamps it. It's just that bloody motor is just, I was
going to say, have you ever brought a spectrum analyzer home and done it and tried it?
No, I haven't.
Because that would be interesting to see what it looks like.
Right. But is it conducted mode noise? Is it, what? Is it going along the cables? Is it going along, is it over air? Is it
you're saying maybe it's actually affecting the power line of the TV, and then that's noise feeding it through there or something?
Yep. Could be.
Yeah.
Or is it just pumping up noise to the antenna? Is it radiated noise to the antenna, and then it's affecting the symbol rate, and it's just crapping out that way?
Yep.
I don't know. Is it affecting next door's TVs? I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the FCC, my friend sent me this yesterday, today, I think actually. But FCC, that's the regulatory body here in the States, and what's it called there? I don't actually know. In Australia,
the Australian Communications ACMA or something, Australian Communications and Monitoring Agency.
Got it. And they're in every country, as they should be, right? They determine what bands are used for what and blah, 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 blah. But getting regulatory approval for Part 15, non-intentional emitters, a lot of things have to go through that, a lot of devices that sell in the market. And so my friend sent me this, and it's just this really creepy like what is it? The Hello Barbie. It's the filings for the Hello Barbie, and this is you think the Echo's bad. This is a Barbie doll that has a battery and a push to talk, and it's listening to your child play with it.
No.
As my friend said, at least it's a push to talk. But yeah, no, like if you can see a teardown of it, there's like a Marvell chipset. There's a Marvell chipset on the receiver side. Then there's a little what I assume is a Wi-Fi module. For the doll to talk back to the base station. There's a charging thing for that too, and yeah, so lots of creepiness there. But the FCC site is really cool to look at. I mean, you can find a lot of devices and product pictures and teardowns and stuff like that. Oh yeah,
that's how a lot of the Apple fanboys get their pre-information,
right?
Because you have to submit it to the FCC for compliance before you put it on sale, and
Yep.
There's all these nerds just, trawling the FCC website for, the latest Apple news,
Yeah.
Sad.
I think it's an interesting look at, this is from a couple years ago, I think, at this point. But it's also interesting just to see, this is not something I would never tear down, and I'm guessing you would never tear down. And so low-cost kind of operation stuff as well.
Well, this is Big Clive's territory.
Got it.
Yep. This is what he's famous for.
Barbies?
Tearing down cheap Chinese things. He set a Barbie doll alight once, and it went viral or something, didn't he? It wasn't a Barbie doll. Was it a sex doll or something? I don't know. Oh. Anyway, yeah.
Very different things, Dave.
Yeah, it's great. Well, I don't know. Are they?
Right. Yes, very different. Yeah. Other teardowns we had on our list this week was the mil-spec teardown. Now this is going the exact opposite direction. So this is from a Apache helicopter, Apache data entry panel for a helicopter, and this is just like connector, like the heaven. Yeah. And all the interface boards, everything there. I thought there was more pictures in this. I thought I remember seeing more pictures, but it's an older style, construction style, but very, very nice internals. So
yes, I used to work on mil-spec stuff. And
really, did you have the soldering standards?
I spent 15 years working in military companies.
Was that like the underwater stuff? That was military?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought. Okay.
So, yep.
Yeah. It's nice stuff. It'll get you. I've
torn down quite a lot of military.
Right. I've seen some of your.
Few.
I think.
Yeah. Very cool.
Did you have that all gold board? Or was that Mike Harrison? I remember one where it was like the really heavy duty like.
Yeah.
Motorola
that wasn't
board.
Me.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Must
don't
Mike.
think so. Yep. I think it was.
Okay. What else? What else we got going on?
Hey, I retweeted this last night. I missed it at the time. Mm-hmm. Your favorite person, Elon Musk.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Tweeted. You think?
Oh yeah, this is a while ago, right?
Yeah. The robots are going to take our jobs. All this sort of stuff.
Right.
It's like he famously tweeted, which I'm sure will be repeated ad nauseum over the years, is that sorry, but I can't remember the exact thing.
It says excessive automation at Tesla was a mistake. To be precise, my mistake. Humans are underrated.
Humans are underrated. Yep.
Right.
Yep. And of course,
and
as Tesla death spirals into bankruptcy.
I think they're doing a little bit better today, buddy. I hate to burst your bubble. They beat expectations if you're watching the stock news.
That just came through, did it?
Yeah, it just came through.
Because they were supposed to release something on May 2nd.
Yep.
Yeah, I think they're shuffling the books there to make
this made all the comparisons to like the Ford CEO, yada yada yada.
Right.
I don't know if this. I mean, like, yes, he did admit it's a mistake, but I don't know. It was a gamble either way. And
yeah, but it was like he was so sure that was the future vision, is that automation was everything, and worked out no, humans are more versatile than what you think. Like all this automation is not magic. Sometimes humans are just better.
I don't know how to respond here. I mean, like, the things that so this is all in response to the Model 3 and, like, the production slowdowns and all that stuff, right? All of the things that they were taking a lot of heat for because they're missing their deadlines and the people aren't happy with it.
It's not that they can't make the Model 3, it's just that they can't make enough fast enough. That's the problem.
Right. And so I think what he's I don't have any, answer key, but when you're tooling up, you got to, like, try a lot of things, and if you're tooling up for a precise process that automation, I think the whole idea of reconfigurable robots is still not there, especially in the large scale manufacturing space, right? These huge KUKA arms and all of those, they're
not the universal panacea for everything.
Exactly. And I'm guessing that impacted things, but I don't know. So excessive automation was a mistake.
Right.
Yeah. I doubt it was because they didn't want to hire people or cost wise. Robots are probably more expensive than humans, but I don't know. Well, so what are you getting at with all this? You didn't like it either, or you?
No, I am not surprised.
Oh.
It's like, well, yeah, duh. Humans are underrated, duh.
Right.
Like all these visions of every single job's going to be taken by robots. It's bullshit.
I see. Right. Yeah, I mean, automation, it's like you work up to that.
It's like the whole autonomous car thing. Every car's going to be autonomous in 5 years. Bullshit.
There we go.
It's not going to happen.
So this is Dave this is the Dave being right.
Of course it's the Dave being right, because I'm usually right.
Okay.
I'm right more often than I'm wrong, I think.
I don't keep track. Maybe I should.
Well, yeah, you should.
No, that's not my job. That's your job.
I don't care, but so I'm going to call it as I see it. And
I know you are.
It's blatantly obvious, and now everyone's shocked. It's like, you mean you were wrong? Yeah, of course he was wrong. Or he wasn't as right as he thought he was. It's not like he's wrong. It's not like automation is shit. Jeez, the amount of automation that's happened in since days of Henry Ford in automobile manufacture is remarkable.
Yeah.
Right? But yeah, I mean, it's not, some magic. You can't just start up a car company for nothing and go, hey, we're not going to have any workers. We're going to have this automated factory. Metal goes in one end and cars come out the other.
Yeah.
It's bullshit.
I'm not sure that's what they were saying, but
yeah, but they were counting on that. They were counting on
like for forecasting numbers.
For forecasting production numbers, and it's bit them on the ass, right? Yeah. And well, tough titties, lesson learned.
I agree.
So they should have been more cautious.
I think if there wasn't so much riding on the valuation of the stock, it's like public companies.
Oh yeah, of course. Once you're a public company, you're screwed.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Anyway, I thought that was funny.
Yeah. It's not bad. Not bad.
Yeah. It's hilarious.
Any last? I mean, we're getting up to the end here. Let's see what else is on the list. We've got Espressif releases a mesh protocol. I'm curious about this. I don't know if that's going to be
yet another one. Is it how many are there?
I don't know. I know OpenThread is the one that Particle said they're using for their mesh devices. This is a new one, I think. I don't actually know how meshes work.
This is another UART program thing. Everyone thinks they can do it better and become the de facto standard. And then we just end up.
I think
with
there's a lot of benefits to
standards.
becoming the de facto standard. So
isn't there the Dilbert? Is it the Dilbert? No,
XKCD.
The XKCD.
Yep.
Comic about
setting
the standards. We're going to set another standard to become the new standard.
I think they talk about 14 going to 15 or something like that. I think that's probably how many times we've referenced that cartoon. It's it's a common one here at the Amp Hour. But like you're right. I mean, it's totally that's what happens. And I think the thing that's interesting is that's what happened with SPI protocol and I2C protocol too, but we don't really talk about that anymore, right? I don't remember which was which. One was a Motorola, right?
I2C was Philips.
Philips, okay.
They still hold the trademark over it.
Uh-huh, yep.
So if you were to use the I2C logo, you're going to pay Philips some dosh, you know.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So,
but that's how it often happens. And, I mean, that's the same response that I have for, like, when people are like, oh, well, you know, like a lot of people are talking about LoRa. Well, I talk about LoRa a lot, but, like, LoRa is like, yes, Semtech owns it, but at the same time, they're probably going to only find success if other people are making the chip and they license it out. And eventually, you know, it becomes like this trademark, this soft trademark type thing like Kleenex, right? Where they don't lose trademark, but if they don't definitely enforce it because there's benefits to having a wider net.
Got it. Well, that's why everyone started calling I2C, like they didn't use the name. They just called it two-wire.
Oh, really?
You know?
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why.
I know the Dallas one-wire, right?
Two-wire protocol. Yeah, Dallas one-wire protocol is you know, one-wire protocol anywhere else.
That's a lame name.
Yeah. Yep.
So we'll see how this works out with the mesh thing. I had a weird realization about the ESP, and not even ESP. I suppose other stuff. The other wireless things that are out there. Like it's like I was looking at the ESP32 module, and I was like, oh, that has a single antenna. And then I thought that's a 2.4 gigahertz. It's 2.4 gig for both of them, isn't it? I mean, I know that Wi-Fi now has 5 gigahertz as well, but it's the same antenna. I didn't even think about that.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that, but
and they might have like a chip antenna on as well, but like to go between the two. But I was just thinking
it might be doing multiple fractally things.
Yeah, fractally things. Yeah. Right. Outside of our realm, outside of our RF knowledge.
Oh, I have not seen this documentary on Madman Months.
What's this? Oh, this is another thing on the list?
Yes, it's on the list. It's way down the list, number 22 on the list, 23 on the list.
Months.
Madman Months.
He sold cars. Who's Months? Explain that again.
Months in. Is
that where you knocked the capacitors off? Is that the one?
Yep, that's a time-honored tradition of once you've got your product, you start removing components randomly until it stops working, and then you put the last component back in, and then you ship it. You know, that's the Months technique.
Got it.
Whether or not it's entire, you know, I'm sure it's blown out of proportion, but yes. The story goes, Madman Months, you know, he used to sell TVs. He used to be an ex-car salesman, and then he got into TVs back when TVs were a thing, and used to walk around the factory, used to walk around the R&D floor with a pair of side cutters in his pocket, and any time one of their engineers would boast something's ready to ship, he'd get out his side cutters and go in snipping capacitors until it stopped working. And then he went, well, we just saved a couple of cents, and he became the master of these low cost TVs, and that's how he did it.
So the original hardware cheapskate, huh?
Yeah. And well, see, back then parts were expensive. You know, like if you could save, like he would save it. It was not just snipping out components. It was like, well, it kind of was. It was leaving out entire valves, right? Because you know, you'd have a 7-valve TV, right? Required 7 valves. Valves were expentive.
Valves are he would actually tubes in this case. Is that
tubes? Right. Tubes. So he would him or his engineers would go, oh well, we don't quite need this local oscillator to be that stable, do we? And because so they'd take out a tube, right, for the stability part of it or whatever, for the local oscillator for the recovery or whatever, and for the signal recovery. And the TV set would only work if you had a high signal level and you lived close to the TV station. But he figured that most of his sales would be in cities which are near the transmitters. So his TVs would work just fine with 1 or 2 less valves than the competition, because he didn't need that auto gain circuit to gain up the low signal level. So his TVs only work close, and he sold a buttload of them, because they were cheaper, because they use less tubes.
I mean, price still wins. I mean,
price still wins, and people thought they were
Speaking of expressive, right?
Right. Yeah. And so that was not proper engineering. That was Clayton's engineering.
That was businessing.
Businessing.
Businessing. We start and end the show on business.
Yep. getting the job done.
That's right.
So,
Actually, we're not going to end the show on business. I have to call out again because the guest last week, Sam, I'm sorry you didn't get to talk with him, but that kid was just... And he published... I didn't realize you were linking me to his published post about the IC, the 66 steps out to the...
I had not seen the published post, yes.
Yeah, right.
I had heard about him doing the thing, but I hadn't seen the post. It's very extensive post.
It was right when it came out, so I didn't realize it had come out. So if people listened to the show last week and are listening still, Sam published about the IC, a lot of stuff we talked about as well.
Yeah.
So
what you're saying is that kid's going places.
That kid is, yeah. Yes. It
cool.
was a good show.
Excellent.
All right, man. Well, we're going to go off and not be high schoolers who can make chips in a garage. I don't even have a garage anymore. Do you have a garage? You have a garage.
I have a garage, but it's going to be turned into something. It's going to be turned into something else shortly.
Oh, no. Okay. Yeah. Dave's getting a day spa in his house.
Right.
All right, man. Well, we'll talk to you soon.
Cool. Catch you next time.